If you go with the time-honored tradition in the world of professional wrestling, when you do decide to walk away from the spotlight, you're meant to do so on your back. And I don't mean that literally, or I kind of do. The point is, if you're going out the door, you make sure you lose to someone on your way out so they can get the rub and you pass them the torch and then they can go looking around in the dark. And usually all of this is going down when a performer is coming close to retirement and realize they don't have much left in the tank. But my friends, that's not always the case, and some wrestlers decide when they are at the top of the top of the top, they're going to use this moment to walk into the shadows. And that is what we are going to talk about today, because my name is Simon Miller. Welcome to What Culture Wrestling, and this is 8 wrestlers who did indeed quit on top. Number 8, Brock Lesnar. If we are going to believe all the rumors back in the early 2000s, WWE offered one Brock Lesnar a $45 million contract to stay, and the Beast turned around and went, look, I hate the traveling, it's ruining my life, I want to go try American football, so I'm turning you down. That, my friends, is somebody that doesn't want to wrestle anymore. But that's exactly what happened. 2 years after becoming the WWE champion and being one of the promotion's biggest stars, Brock Lesnar, at only 27 years of age, just couldn't handle it anymore, especially because he felt like crap. His whole body was hurting, which is no surprise, because don't forget he fell on his head at WrestleMania 19. And if you're wondering why he did get such a big offer, it's because it worked both ways. As much as Brock Lesnar wanted to go, WWE was terrified about losing their main guy. So look, go to the penny change, see how much we've got, and whatever we can throw at him, you better do it. But there wasn't a number high enough, the Beast was gone. So he did say goodbye to the next big thing at WrestleMania 20 when he had that match with Goldberg. And it didn't really last too long, because by 2005, he was back in the New Japan ring, and then after that he went and absolutely smashed the world of UFC before coming back to WWE on terms that worked for him. We should all be a little bit more like Brock Lesnar. Number 7, Edge. Come WrestleMania 27, nobody could argue that Edge wasn't one of WWE's brightest lights. I mean, he wasn't in the main event that evening because it was reserved for John Cena and The Rock, and The Miz was doing something in there as well. But still, he left there with the World Heavyweight Championship, and what we didn't know as fans was what was happening behind the scenes. And what was going on there was truly heartbreaking, because just 1 week removed from retaining his title, we found out that the rated R superstar was so badly injured and had such a screwed up neck that he had to pack it in, he had to retire. He gave one of the most emotional speeches we'd ever seen on Monday Night Raw, and that was that. He was gone. His championship was vacated. He also got inducted into the Hall of Fame. And while he did incredibly return in 2020, when you're talking about guys that went out when they are on top, well, it's hard to find a better name than Adam Copeland. And now we'll have to see what he's got left in the tank. Because apparently, he's about to have the greatest match ever. Who knew? Number 6, Bruno Sammartino. Over 11 years, with 2 reigns that came in at 2,803 days, there was a point in time when everybody just said Bruno Sammartino will be the WWF champion until the end of time. You'll die, I'll die, we'll all die, but somehow Bruno Sammartino will still be holding the gold. The only thing that was going to stop him was going to be a horrific injury. Wouldn't you know it? Because during a 1977 Madison Square Garden match against Stan Hansen, Bruno Sammartino screwed his neck up so badly that he had to pack all of this in. And that's what he did. He went to Vince McMahon Sr. and said, look, I can't be the man that I used to be. It's all gone bad. I'm gonna have to walk away. Sammartino then promptly dropped his title to superstar Billy Graham after he held on to it for 3.5 years, but even though he was winding down, he still managed to be the company's top star. I mean, in 1980, he embarked on a feud with Larry Zbyszko that was able to draw 37,000 fans to the arena. And think about what's going on at the moment. We have 0 fans, 37,000. Around this time, Hulk Hogan was also slowly sneaking up the card, but he still couldn't hold a candle or a frame to Bruno Sammartino, who went out the way. He decided to go out, and that, my friends, is a sign of a legend. Number 5, Trish Stratus. Trish Stratus, who is a multiple-time women's champion as well as a WWE Hall of Famer, retired, wait for it, when she was just 30 years old. Who the hell retires at 30? Just to give you some context, if we go back to WrestleMania 3 and start talking about another Canadian, Bret Hart, that's how old he was when he was having a match slap bang in the middle of the card. But by 2006, Trish decided that she had achieved everything she was ever going to achieve in world wrestling entertainment, and she wasn't wrong, and after she settled down and decided to have children, that was that for the squared circle. She went and did something else, including a lot of TV work. WWE were totally behind this as well, because when she did tell them of their plans, there was no sadness, there was no annoyance, and in fact they had her beat longtime rival Lita for the women's champion, so she got one final reign, and then she retired, the belt was held up. I mean, when the hell does that ever happen? She has come back for the odd match here and there, and despite rumors to the contrary, it sounds like there may be one more in the line at some point. But there you go, my friends. If you were able to smash life so good by your third decade, you could do this? Tell me in the comments below. Number 4, Shawn Michaels. Now yes, I know straight away everyone's gonna go, but Simon, he came back for that Saudi Arabia show. Well, I have decided that Saudi Arabia shows don't count. They're bad news all around. They leave a horrible taste in our mouth. We'd all rather forget about them. So let's employ that and just pretend it never actually happened. It's also doubly important because if you do that, it means that the Heartbreak Kid retired at WrestleMania 26 after one of the greatest professional wrestling matches we have ever seen against The Undertaker. And it affected the real-life Mark Calloway so much, he is still trying to find his own bout like this so he can go out in the same way, and he just can't do it. If you don't know what I'm talking about, watch the Last Ride documentary on the network. And that encounter was so good, to this day people go, that should have been the main event. What the hell was anybody thinking? And to be able to go out after putting in a performance like that, well, they are few and far between, and it's allowed Shawn Michaels to retain this legacy as maybe the greatest in-ring performer the world has ever seen. I don't know about you, but that's a pretty good tag to have. Number 3, Becky Lynch. The most recent example on this list also begs the question, well, what the hell is going to happen to Becky Lynch after she has a child? In fact, she was interviewed recently where she even said, my plans are to return to the ring one day, but this is me talking without a child. When I do have one, maybe my priorities completely alter. And she doesn't need to do that, and of course it's completely up to her to make that decision. But even if she does decide she doesn't want to come back to WWE, she has achieved so much, she has changed the game. I mean, not only was she the unassailable champion of Raw, but 12 months prior to all of this, she headlined WrestleMania 35 as the first ever woman to do it, and there ain't nobody that can change that. Is written into the history books forever. She's also left the industry in a far better state than they found it, and a lot of wrestlers do say that's their number one aim, and I tell you this, Becky Lynch will go down, whether she comes back or not, as one of the greatest female talents ever. Scratch that, one of the best talents ever, full stop. When you can engage with the audience like that, you have already won. Number 2, Verne Gagne. From the day he debuted until he retired in 1981 at the age of 54, Verne Gagne was basically some kind of champion from day one till day last. That is every single professional wrestler's dream, as well as making loads of money on t-shirts. The first of these came in 1953 when he was anointed as the NWA Detroit World Heavyweight Champion, and he was so successful in this role and made so much money, he started telling promoters, no, I'm not gonna work that day. In fact, I'll send you my schedule, and if you don't like it, kiss my ass. He was nicer than that, but you take my point. And his success and momentum reached such heights that he eventually decided, well, screw this, I'm just gonna start my own promotion, which he did. It was called the AWA. He made himself the champion in 1960 and basically held on to that for around about 20 years. I mean, his 9th reign began in 1969, and that lasted 7 years. I mean, how crazy is that? And he was still holding on to this when he did eventually realize he had to get out of Dodge, which means he retired as high as he could go. He was running his own company, he was a champion, and he decided when he was gonna call it quits. Verne Gagne, man, no wonder everybody talks about him. Number 1, Batista. At the Elimination Chamber in 2010, WWE gave Batista what they thought he wanted. That was the World Championship, but as it turned out, Big Dave didn't want that. Big Dave wanted to leave. And this was all kinds of fascinating because both Batista and John Cena had basically mirrored each other, with one holding up SmackDown and one holding up Raw. But while the man who can't be seen was allowed to go outside of the wrestling bubble and accept lucrative contracts doing TV and films, Batista wasn't given the same courtesy, hence why he was pissed. So after being given a firm no when he did try to inquire and make some changes, Batista went out of his way to give WWE a year's notice in May 2009, and he stuck to it. In a desperate attempt to change his mind, all of a sudden the Animal was being treated as an even bigger star than he was already, winning championships here and championships there. But don't even worry about that, because not only did he stick to his guns, but he left when probably his money-earning potential was higher than it ever had been. And yeah, once again, this is another guy that came back to the company, but don't forget what he did in the interim. He went and did everything while Wrestling Entertainment told him he couldn't do, and today, more people, in sort of a mainstream sense, see him as an actor than they ever did a wrestler. I know that will annoy you, but trust me, my mum somehow knows who Batista is, but she calls him Dave Batista and had no idea he ever donned some pants and went and fake fought. So you really have to respect Batista for everything that he did, and given that he got his final match against Triple H at WrestleMania a couple of years ago, that. It truly baffles the mind. Know of any other superstars that quit when they are on top? Make sure you let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to like the video, share the video, and subscribe. Then head over to whatculture.com, read yourself some articles, follow What Culture on Twitter at WhatCultureWWE, and watch more videos here on What Culture Wrestling. My name is Simon from What Culture. Thank you very much for watching. I appreciate all your time, I appreciate all your love and your hearts and everything else you've got. I'll see you soon.